Huh. Hey! Thank you. That was nice. Today, I want to talk about resilience through laughter. How we can inspire resilience in our communities through play. Resilience to bounce back, to respond effectively after misfortune or change, to adapt. Maybe you stepped in dog poop this morning. Maybe you missed your train. Maybe you, like me, found out you have to move. But we laugh all the time. It's what we do. Don't we always get over it by laughing about it in the end? And I want to talk about how I've seen that work in so many different situations through my work with Clowns Without Borders. So the clown is a foundational archetype. The trickster, the jester, the fool. The character is special because they're outside of social norms. They break cultural norms. They allow for reflection because as clowns, they can express themselves more emotionally than is generally culturally acceptable. And that makes them easy to relate to. Charlie Chaplin might come to mind. If you've been an audience member for a clown or circus show, then a few different names might be popping into your head. Barnum and Bailey's, Ringling Brothers, Cirque du Soleil, Big Apple Circus, some of the top names in our family. You might have even sat in an audience right here at the House of Yes. And you probably remember the laughter, the relaxation, the elevated emotion, the release from stress that comes with being able to sit back, take an hour, and be entertained, and laugh. At Clowns Without Borders, we take this experience and share it with folks who don't have the luxury of relaxation or entertainment. Our clowns go to crisis zones. So what does that look like? Our audience is people in the midst of crisis, often experiencing an incredible amount of fear and uncertainty. They are an engineering student who will never go back to his school because his school has been decimated by airstrikes. It's a young woman who almost died the day before, a stay-at-home mom with her kids, a professor, a dentist. It's you and me. What does it look like when these people are not refugees, but audience members? What does it mean when this is the face of an aid worker? The number of people currently displaced in the world is huge. At the end of 2014, there were 59.5 million displaced people in the world, which would be altogether the 24th largest country. This number has grown yearly by millions over the past decade, leaving us now in a reality where 1 in every 122 humans is either a refugee, internally displaced, or currently seeking asylum. And the hardest part of this phenomenon to grasp is that each of those numbers represents a person, as whole and complex as you or I, who's living in a constant state of fear. Numbers like this drive me to try to do something. I spent my years in college looking at violence against marginalized groups, and through that lens, worked with different organizations around the world. After years of looking at ingrained violence and forced displacement, I realized that in order for me to be able to do this without being too personally traumatized by the tragedy, that I had to find a way to work through a lens of joy. And the simple mission of Clowns Without Borders to share moments of laughter and levity with folks who need it most, to inspire resilience by laughing together, that connected for me. And it can be hard for people to understand what we do and the value of the moment of laughter after a traumatic situation. So if you have a child or a niece or a nephew or work with kids and one of them loves you, think about your kid. And if you can, try to remember the first time that your child smiled at you and how that felt. And now, if you can, try to remember the first time that your child smiled at you after bouncing back from a serious illness, maybe a stay at the hospital or a car accident. Try to remember how that made you feel. That feeling is what comes out of our shows. Our projects go all around the world, and every place that we go faces different logistical challenges. We'll drive 7 hours to perform for a rural community in Nepal affected by the earthquake. Our troops have waded rivers in Indonesia with their props above their heads to perform for communities on the other side. Last August in Turkey, our artists traveled to the homes of each elder of a village community to have tea, before finally, hours later, being permitted to perform as dusk fell and air raids started overhead. We've performed for the children of guerrilla fighters and the children of police officers. We perform for the children of earthquakes, tsunamis, the children of war. In November, I traveled with one of our projects to Greece to perform for the Syrian refugees. And we did a performance in the Mytilene harbor, and there were a circle of people around us. And there was this guy in a pink sweatshirt who said something in the audience, and everybody laughed harder than they had at anything that we had done. He said it in Arabic. And so obviously we needed him to be on our team. So we invited him into the center. And when he got to the middle and we asked if he wanted to join us, roughly translated, what he said was, yes, hell yes. I want to be with you. I deserve to laugh today after what I just did. I almost drowned last night in the sea. Last week, my father died after being burned from top to toe in Syria. So yeah, I think I deserve to laugh today. All we did was show up, create a container, and there it is, resilience through laughter. The work is small moments, but these moments build on one another through the laughter, through the shows, small pockets of people from different backgrounds, different tents, they come together. And even if they don't know each other at the beginning, by the end, they've created this community through our interactions and play. We have a community through laughter right there in a dusty parking lot, or a shanty town, or a refugee camp. Clowns Without Borders USA performed for 24,000 children and families in crisis last year. Feels good. But remember that number? 59.5 million displaced people. There are so many who we will never perform for, but the scope of the work is a moment of levity, which is just as much internal within ourselves. You have it inside of you. It's making happiness a priority right now, today, the way life is, whether by sharing a joke with the guy at the bodega or making faces with the kid on the train. We don't have to travel great distances to find an opportunity to spread joy. I hear and see feedback all the time that tells me that playing like this, connecting with other people, makes a difference. It's the first time that a child smiled after leaving Syria 3 weeks beforehand. It's the first time that a mother sees her son laughing after he lost his father in a shipwreck. It's the aid worker who said that watching us play with the kids was her first opportunity to cry out of happiness instead of sorrow since arriving at the camps months before. Resilience through laughter is what we see every time a kid is brave enough to come sit down at the edge of the nylon rope that normally indicates our makeshift stage, ready to have fun, despite unthinkable circumstances. It's this girl. She just spent 4 hours on an overcrowded rubber raft from Turkey to Greece, driven by a scared fellow refugee who had never been in a boat before. I don't think it's nothing that she was able to go through the entire experience of displacement that brought her to Turkey, take this dangerous journey on which many have and continue to die, and then she arrives in this foreign land after all of this, and the first thing that she hears is music and laughter and this invitation to play on once a raft, now a game. And she runs to it. She wants to start the next chapter of her journey with a moment of play. And this experience is not exclusive to refugee camps or disaster sites. We all have our struggles. Living in New York City, we all miss the train. We all struggle with a loved one, receive heartbreaking news. I invite you, when you have it to spare, to create a container where happiness can thrive, because when you make space within yourself for laughter, that helps other people find that space within themselves. So the day's over, we're leaving. When you go outside, find your small moment, your opportunity to laugh in spite of everything. And please, when you find it, take it.